Rolling. Hey, listen, everybody, I am not perfect in this fundraising journey. So if there's anything that stumps me or whatnot, I get to use one lifeline as long as we can all agree. I get to phone a friend. I'm going to phone the most brilliant mind in fundraising if I get stumped. So one lifeline, and then, hey, just for good measure, I got the 8 ball. So if we have to ask any crazy questions or anything like that I don't know the answer to, we can shake the 8 ball and get some help there as well. So, hey, Andrea. Hey, Kelly. Cool. Thanks so much for coming in. Okay, cool. First question from Courtney, just getting us going. Well, that's a silly one, but okay, it's fun. It'll make me chuckle. First question is from Randy. How do I get as tan as Trevor? That's actually not a tan, sir. That is sun damage, just from being outside on my bike, running, and living in California for my entire life. So I appreciate the kind words. I'll take it. But once again, no, that's sun damage. But yeah, tan is very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Another question. Hey, and I love this. Feel free to get silly with it and ask whatever you like. Nothing's off limits today. Obviously, want to talk fundraising with y'all and share as much as we can. But yeah, I love that kind of silly stuff too. So thank you. A great question from Kaylee. I would like to learn about how to implement HGA fundraising into a nonprofit. Okay, cool. Well, a number of ways, Kaylee. Want to know where you're at in your journey with your organization. Kaylee, if you're here, let us know where you're at, what your name of your organization, where you're from, what you're raising money for, all that good stuff. And once again, your journey. So a few things. HGA Fundraising provides the most profitable auction items in fundraising, but not just that, not just fundraising tools, but fundraising knowledge. So we have free coaching where we can talk about board development, planning your first event, planning your 50th event, whatever it might be. Obviously, these weekly webinars and also the Hey Nonprofits podcast. So a lot of free, awesome content. We have, number one, my business partner, Jason Ledlow, and CEO, co-founder of HGA Fundraising, is the most brilliant mind in fundraising, the most brilliant fundraiser I've ever met, just so happens to be our CEO. So we have him to help you at any time with free coaching. And then we made a decision years ago, before we started the webinar, before we started the podcast, which we're both, over 200 episodes in, and Courtney will be able to show you how you can access past episodes and whatnot. But we decided to put our best information out for free. So we'll be in 2,000 events, for instance, in 2025, and we work with a myriad of organizations across the country. And when we get data and information, we share it. So we're learning in real time. Our breadth of knowledge has expanded dramatically over the last, handful of years, and we are happy to share it completely free of charge. So I hope that helps, Kaylee. And then, oh, great. Okay, cool. In Chicago, far out, Kaylee. Yeah, Kaylee, another thing is that what we provide, access. You feel free, email me directly. Anyone can email me directly today, anytime you like. Connect with me on LinkedIn, whatever you like, and I'd be happy to share some time with you. But as you can tell, I'm kind of rambling about all the resources that we provide. So a lot of encouragement, a lot of coaching, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, and we're happy to help. So I hope that answers your question, Kaylee. So Steve, all right. Oh, cool. Steve's from Chicago too, at the same organization. All right, Steve, thanks for coming. Far out. Yeah, I hope that helps, Kaylee. I didn't mean to be too vague, but if you have an event coming up, we can absolutely help. If you're running an auction for the first time, we can absolutely help. If you're running an auction for the 10th time, whatever it might be, anything under the sun, we have answers for you and help waiting. So happy to do it and help however we can. A good question from Courtney. Here I go. Becky, thanks so much for sharing. Would love tips that you have for securing sponsorships, especially the large title sponsors. Is there a unique deliverable for that level that you have seen which really catches the sponsor's attention? Wow, it's a great question, Becky. And that might be something we can even dive into deeper, off air as well. Would love tips that you have for securing sponsorships. Well, I think it's a very, very underutilized fundraising source. We're big proponents of identifying corporate sponsors that already have a heart for your mission, already have a tie. One of the greatest ways that we can do that is something that we call, we're going to drop a podcast about it very soon, something called the people exercise. So I'll start there about how you get your board, your committee, your staff all in one room and start going through the most powerful fundraising tool that you have, your phone, and the Rolodex, if you will, and identify folks that you know, or maybe there's 1 degree of separation. And what I mean by that is someone that your board members know, your committees, someone that has given in the past that is maybe looking to give at a larger level. So we're big proponents of identifying these folks by using things like the people exercise, folks that have capacity, folks that your board members know that can write a $10,000 check and not miss it. And, you probably know this, Becky, fundraising, securing these sponsorships, it is a long game and it's a relationship game. So we just had a post go out this week where it's like, hey, listen, let's not overthink it. Okay. Talk to anyone and everyone, especially folks that you know, about what you do. Okay. And just remember, yet you're making friends. We want people give to folks they like. So if you can get introductions, if you can ask for introductions and tell your board, for instance, exactly what to say to folks, and make those introductions, then I believe that you can start getting those corporate sponsors and commitments that you're looking for. One very, very simple thing that we can do as well, Becky, is ask for more and tie it to the mission. I think that's a very, very underutilized and very simple approach, frankly, where it's like you had someone at the $10,000 level. This year, the level's going up to 15, 20, 25. You can always drop that. There are no rules when it comes to that. You can have co-presenting sponsors, things of that nature. But hopefully you're expressing to folks what you've done, what you're doing, and what you plan to do. And if you can always tie it back to the mission, we do a really good job of explaining this in perpetuity is, hey, last year we helped 100 kids. We always say like 100 kids with cancer go to camp and it costs $1,000 a kid, and you gave 20. So we sent, 100. This year we're looking to send 150. So that means we need another $50,000. How many kids would you like to send to camp? Or what can we depend on you as far, how can we depend on you? And what kind of commitment can we ask you to make and invite you to make to send more kids to camp? That kind of thing, right? So if you can quantify what you've done and qualify it with the mission and then deliver it that way, that invitation, I think that's a very underutilized approach as well. So I hope that helps, Becky. Once again, rambling about corporate sponsors and what have you, but we can definitely talk off air about it as well. Lori had a great question. Thanks, Lori. It's good to see you. We assign bidder numbers using our gala program. We like for guests to use their bidder number for silent auction bidding, purchasing drink tokens. Perfect. And people never remember their numbers. Do you have any helpful hints except for auction software? I love wristbands. I love tokens like that for sure. I love tokens like that signify giving levels, table hosts, folks that are already in your monthly recurring program, legacy program, all that good stuff. So yeah, you have a business card would be awesome. I think that's a really great sponsorship / underwriting opportunity as well, Lori, while we're just kind of riffing on that. I think that the business card could be, branded on the back with like HGA and then the bidder numbers on the front. They have their paddles. Yes, they tend to leave them at the tables for sure. Love the wristband idea. If it's, it shouldn't be too difficult. If it's early and often at check-in, it's like everything's your bidder number. Maybe we set up like, hey, buy your golden ticket right after check-in. What's your bidder number? Okay, done. Things along those lines. So yeah, there's great ways like that you can just keep folks in memory. I have never even heard of the business card idea. I think that's fantastic. Any tokens like that kind of just show folks like, okay, we're all on the same page, that community piece. I know it sounds really subtle, but I think it's really, really impactful. Once again, happy to have that conversation with you, Lori, off air as well, where we can just spend maybe 15, 20 minutes talking about that. So feel free to reach out to me, Trevor at HGAfundraising.com. Oh yeah, lanyards would be great, Courtney. I think that's great feedback. Absolutely. Let's see here. Courtney, any other pre-submitted questions that we can get to? And hey, folks, everybody, keep coming with your questions. That's why we're here. Nothing's off limits. What do you got, C. Diggity, about any other questions? Kenzie had a question pre-webinar. If you could only choose one trip for your auction from HGA, what would it be? Besides the golden ticket? The golden tickets, that's like kind of like our safety net, right? That's our go-to. Kenzie, I appreciate the question. I think that's awesome. Okay, live auction, silent auction. Kenzie, are you here right now? If you are, please include your LinkedIn profile. If you are here, let's riff on it for a sec. Okay, live auction or silent auction. I believe in the power of trips and experiences. These are fundraising tools. So, and if that's the case, hey, Kenzie, what's up? So, hey, Kenzie, let's get in the weeds a little bit. Live auction or silent auction, if you don't mind. Feel free to, it doesn't, either one's fine. Okay, cool. Our best-selling live auction items and auction items in general, I'll give you a list, kind of like from top to bottom. Tuscany for two, any of our all-inclusive. So that means Caribbean, Cabo, Puerto Vallarta. We also have a Costa Rica package. And this will have a point. Porto, Portugal, Kentucky bourbon. We have a vacation passport package, which is basically the golden ticket with 4 different destinations that I think donors love options. So it gives them an option of 4 different destinations. That's one of our best sellers as well. Kenzie, our goal is to grab like the Tuscany for two, for instance, and I laid out a myriad of options for you. European, domestic, beach, food groups, once in a lifetime. That's what we talk about. So having something that represents all of those food groups, so to speak, will appeal really, really well to bidders that are in your room. Our goal is not to throw 8 of our auction items into your live auction. It's to complement. We're here to be a value add. Our auction items are trips and experiences, but they're fundraising tools. What I mean by that is if we put the Tuscany for two into your live auction and you have a fundraising auctioneer or a good auctioneer, all the above, that can sell that item 4, 6, maybe even 10 times, or you can net, as you've heard us say before, thousands of dollars. It takes about 3 minutes for every live auction item, 3.5 minutes. And you can net thousands of dollars with one auction item. So that would be our goal. We can get in the nitty gritty with silent auction and all that good stuff as well. And what I think about that, we'll be, as a matter of fact, doing a really, really cool webinar next week about the vacation station, which is a better way to look at the silent auction as we're framing it, a super silent type situation where you can test for your next year's live auction, all that good stuff, and make thousands of dollars when you use the vacation station. So I hope that helps, Kenzie. I do have my favorites. I listed off, almost 10 of them because that's where our data shows that's where folks have a proclivity to go. And then we book all of our own experiences as well. So we see where folks want to go in real time, and happy to share it with you. So does that help, Kenzie? I hope it does. And once again, extending the invitation, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to spend some time with you off air as well. Karen, this is a question for everybody. Karen, thank you so much for sharing. It's good to see you. Has anyone gone back to paper bid sheets only for the silent auction? And my question I'm posing to you, Karen, would be, is that something where your audience is asking for that? Is that, do you not want to take the time to upload all those items, but I totally understand, into your silent auction? So if that's what your audience is asking for, we can have that discussion. I don't think it's necessary, but folks, feel free to talk to Karen about this if you don't mind. Lori says, we never stopped using paper bid sheets. Becky has a question. I'll get to that in just one second. Karen, I'm not a fan of it, but totally up to you. And once again, it's every organization, every event has its own uniqueness and atmosphere. And if that's what your audience wants and you're raising money, great. But we can, with software, you can just become so much more efficient. And we see the data suggest that, it's a 30% increase just by using auction software. If you would like to have that conversation about auction software off air, we've got a whole team. We are so rooted in helping folks with their platforms and whatnot. We help folks upload items onto their platform and what have you. So we understand it's time consuming. So just want to understand where the idea would be. State of Washington has very strict guidelines for online bidding. Of alcohol items. Sure. Okay. Karen, great follow-up. So maybe have the alcohol items featured on your auction site, but only bid on at your event on paper, or, in almost kind of like a paper or revenue enhancer type format. I understand about Washington. Every state's so different. So Makes total, yeah, exactly. I know. I prefer online as well. So, pardon me, I'm backing up to some questions here. Rosalind, thanks so much for sharing. We do paper bearding only. One of your trips last giveaway. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Oh, great question. Sure, Rosalind. So Rosalind won one of our items at a webinar. We'll be giving one away today. I probably mentioned that at the beginning. I always forget, but we always give away an auction item to a lucky attendee for every webinar. And so Rosalind won one a couple weeks ago, as I recall. That was awesome. Yes, it's absolutely, yes. With us, you're absolutely able to offer multiple trips. And the best way to present it in a silent auction would be to advertise it pre-event so folks can figuratively pack their bags. I think it's a giant mistake not to advertise the bidding opportunities that folks will have at an event. And your fundraiser's not till next April. Yeah, so we offer, when folks purchase our items, they have 24 months to book their trip. And they're only working with our hospitality team start to finish. So the best in donor experience, the most mission-focused donor experience. I'm very, very opinionated about that, and we can talk about that off air as well, Rosalind. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions, and thank you so much for sharing. Becky, always use online for silent auctions. Yeah, Becky, I mean, I sound opinionated and whatnot, but absolutely. I just think it's such a great way to promote what's going to be at your event, stoke the fire. I like to say with our trips and experiences, or any trips and experiences, whether they're donated or not, it gets folks figuratively packing their bags and getting excited. I'm not a big fan of surprises at events. And if folks can see that you're going to have a Cabo trip, in your live auction, silent auction, all the above, advertise it, open up the auction site weeks in advance, and hopefully also get some money in the door pre-event, which I think is a huge, huge win. So Kelly mentioned we have considered going back to paper sheets for silent, but we are now able to show who the winning bidder is. So the fun competition is still there. Yeah. Yep. I love that. Karen, great. Great idea on early advertising. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I have a tendency to ramble, Rosalind. So 2 different messages. Yes to everything that you mentioned, and then also, the item itself won't. When you use it in April, that'll give your donors that bid on it and win 24 months to book. So I hope that helps. So, and I can embellish on any of those questions off air as well. Courtney, do we have any other questions while folks are coming with theirs? Any pre-webinar questions that came in? And then Courtney, I think it'd be a good idea maybe to pop up that next poll question about sponsorships and underwriting as well. Steve had a question. Steve, are you here? Give us a shout out if you are. Steve, when does having too many activities become too much for a gala? For example, selling items, games, etc. That's a really great question. I had a fascinating conversation with a friend named Reggie Rivers a few weeks ago, and he was talking about, he brought up something interesting. Folks are there to give for a reason. Don't nickel and dime them. And I was like, oh, wow, interesting. So he said, don't have too many small bidding opportunities for this much. I'm a big proponent of $50 buy-ins, $100 buy-ins, $250 golden tickets if you have any experience, that kind of stuff. Absolutely. Steve, we've always said have 5 revenue enhancers at your event, or 5 ways to generate revenue at your event. Live auction, silent auction, fund a need. You have your golden ticket, for instance. And then maybe one other, a fun game. Like you said, when is it too many? When does it get to the point where there's too many games and too many items and what have you? Items depends on how many folks you have in the room, for sure. Too much also bleeds into the time that you have. You have the golden hour of fundraising, especially nowadays, right? With with folks being very, very attention driven. There's this, we only have folks' attention for so long, and we don't want to have 3-hour long programs and this and that. So I think that can bleed into too much, and then just be very, very deliberate on the giving opportunities. Very, very thoughtful about the giving opportunities. and testing giving opportunities like the golden ticket, like a fun game at the end of the fun and eat, a paddle drop, things like that. We can talk about that off air as well if you like, Steve. So really, really good question. I think you can, I think people, especially with attention and timing these days, it can lead to a thing that I say a lot, paralysis by analysis. Too much is too much. So, you celebrate what you're there for, give folks very, very deliberate giving opportunities, and really twist the dial on that and get laser focus on that. So yeah, hope that helps, Steve. Becky, is having a vacation station and a trip in a live auction too much? Absolutely not, because, we've talked about this for a long time too. Our business is predicated on folks buying trips and experiences and gathering in large groups. So as you can tell, during like COVID time, that was a difficult task. And we got creative, and so many organizations got so creative and raised a ton of money, right? Well, human psychology dictates that when you take things away from people, they clamor for it even more. And that was my hope and my gut feeling and my optimism all was proved so true that I can't believe, quote unquote, how much the rubber band has snapped back since travel was taken away to certain destinations, for instance, and then folks' proclivity for getting out and about and experiencing things. I think it's once again, the human psychology piece of it. We're a nomadic bunch. We love experiencing new cultures. I know how much it means to people and their lives. And once again, we're in so many events, and our business is, offering these trips and experiences, these auction items as fundraising tools at events. And the data suggests that just folks love it. Folks love to travel. Folks are willing to leverage their giving budget and their travel budget simultaneously. The idea, Becky, is that we want to give folks the opportunity to do just that. I love the idea of having, like I said, the food groups, beach, once in a lifetime, European, local, domestic, all of those options. Cool thing about it is, use a vacation station and you can test. There's no exposure with a vacation station. So you can, you get 8 bids or more on a Portugal trip in your vacation station. Well, you have a pretty good idea that could be something that could find its way into your live auction next year. So yeah, I hope that helps. Too much. Yeah. I mean, once again, it leads to paralysis by analysis, but with our vacation station, we're saying, hey, here's like 12 really great items that you can choose from. Pick 6 to 10. Put them in the vacation station, make them their own, underwrite the vacation station, make that a sponsorship opportunity. And then Becky, give me some more context to like how many items do you have in your live auction? Because, once again, talking about time and things like that, and the time that it takes to sell live auction items and these different things that you have to get to at your event, I think that definitely bleeds into that conversation as well. So, hey, Bev, what's up? Good to see you again. Do you still recommend one auction item for each pocketbook? For sure. We had Claire and Louis Murat on 2 weeks in a row, as a matter of fact, kind of doing an AMA with them, which was so fun and so insightful and so good. And the feedback was amazing, and just so tickled to have them on and share their insight, because they do a ton of events too. And yes, I believe that Claire laid out really, really nicely, not having more than one item for each pocketbook or each couple, so to speak, in your event. And even then, if it's becoming so daunting to add 100 items to your online or silent auction, less can absolutely be more. It just depends on what kind of success you've had in the past. And then, yeah, kind of like whittling things down. We don't want to see you, I talked about nickel and diamond, for instance. Like, we don't want to see you work so hard and all the people power that goes into it. And you have this opportunity to raise money this one night and then have something that you only net like $100 on, right? Like an auction item that you take time, an hour on, you got to deliver and stuff like that. So I think being really thoughtful about that is a great practice. I appreciate you sharing. It's always great to see you, Bev. So, and how easy we are to reach, and we're happy to help with anything, anytime with you. So, Elizabeth, all right. How are you segmenting your donor base to tailor ask for major gifts compared to smaller recurring donations? Whoa, that's a great question. Well, that's a great question for the audience. If you're not segmenting, then I think that's a problem for sure. And I will answer that question this way, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for sharing. Because we're so event specific, I think identifying potential mid-level and major givers at an event is a very underutilized practice. We've had so many, like a future guest, Nikki DeFalco from the National MS Society. Her and I were having this conversation recently. Susanna Doyle, who's at Breakthrough T1D, said, your best prospect list is your event attendee list. Folks that, I'll give you an example, Elizabeth, and I've had this conversation with Susanna at length. Classic, very, very, very prolific fundraiser. Someone bids $5,000 on a live auction item at your event, and they're a guest of one of your table hosts or table, purchasers or sponsors, and they've never been to your event, and they bid $5,000, but they didn't win the event. Well, you just identified a $5,000 level giver that's never been to your event before. How hard does your dev team and you as a nonprofit professional fundraiser, how hard do you have to work to identify a new $5,000 level giver? So, it's like those opportunities are right there. So we're big, circling back to the software piece, we're such huge believers in getting lost in that data, that bidding behavior and folks' proclivity to give at certain levels. That does not mean your $100 level giver for a golden ticket opportunity is not going to turn into a major giver one day, but having conversations, thanking them. You're in the relationship business, you're in the hospitality business when you're a fundraiser, and that is thoughtfulness personified and how you made the other person feel. So how did you make them feel at your event? How thoughtful were you in your follow-up? And we always say, if you don't know what to say thank you. Jason famously says, thank your donors 7 times before you ask them for money again. Invite them to your facility, invite them out for a cup of coffee, ask them if they've never been, what brought you, or I see that you were, a guest of, Sarah and Dan's, and just let's get into that, right? Let's have that conversation. It's a heck of a lot easier to create a mid-level and major level giver from someone that gave at your event than to find a brand new one that you've never met before. So I hope that helps. Great question, Elizabeth. Okay, cool. Becky, following up. Usually about 4 live auction items. Last year was about 60 silent. Awesome. Yeah, no, I don't. Great ratio. Fantastic. I think that I think that you can absolutely have, for instance, a Tuscany for 2 or a Cabo all-inclusive or a vacation passport in your live auction and have 6, 8, 10 trips or experiences in your vacation station and make a lot of money. I think that's awesome. Absolutely. That would not be overkill. Hope that helps. Lori, for silent auction items, how would you go about setting the minimum bids, a percentage of retail value? I would, depends on what it is. Let me follow up, Lori. It's easy for me to dictate that with like a reserve price, like with one of our items, and I can really get into that. But you're going to set the tone for bidding and for bidding behavior. I don't get into retail value very much because, like, if you have like a collection of gift cards and there's like 5 of them, and they're all $100 each in value, I absolutely want you to make more than $500 if that makes sense. If you have a reserve item, like one of ours where the price is, $19.95, we're going to say open the bidding at 25% above the reserve price, $2,500. The minute you get a bid, you're in the money, and then set your bidding increments therein at $100. And then watch that bidding behavior and make sure you follow up with folks that bid. That gets me in another, conversation about, you have an item that's a $2,000 level item. You open up the bidding at 25% above the reserve price, and you have, let's say you have 3 people. The winning bid was at $3,600. You have someone at 35. You have someone at 34. I think you sell to all of them, meet them where they're at, and sell that item multiple times, for instance. So I hope that helps. We're always saying 25% above the reserve price for our items. But I definitely wouldn't take something where like the gift card scenario, I wouldn't open that up at 100 if it's, 5 $100 level gift cards, if that makes sense. We want you to make money. So hope that helps. Kelly, whoa, Kelly, that's a great question. That is a rapid fire question that we put fundraising auctioneers, professional auctioneers, and fundraisers on the spot with every time we have them on the podcast. And trust me, we've had a lot of them. And every time we've had them on the webinar, and we've had a lot of them on the webinar too. So I love that question. Kelly, when have you done it? I'm gonna follow that up with a question. Where have you placed the paddle raise fund a need in your event? And then yeah, I'm a big fan of after the live auction. I just am. After listening to folks, I don't think there's any wrong answer necessarily. It just depends on the cadence. Okay. In the middle of the live, you said. We've placed it in the middle of the live of our last two auctions. I haven't heard that one very much, where it's like live auction, fund a need, more live auction. And the reason why I've heard folks say that that's not necessarily the best practice is because of the emotion that paddle race, fund a need, mission moment creates. And following that with more live auction items. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, once again, if you've been successful with that, more power to you. After talking to so many folks and putting them on the spot on air, most of the folks will say paddle raise after the live auction, actually, is what I've noticed. But great conversation. We have, and I'm not saying that, Kelly, because I'm being overly opinionated. I'm just what the experts have told us, and what the data suggests. We've got some really, you're talking about the paddle, we've got some really, really great conversations on the Hey Nonprofits podcast about getting very, very laser focused with that paddle raise. So I'm diverting a little bit. Like Chris Hensley, brilliant fundraiser. And by the way, for folks in Chicago, he and his team are having a lunch and learn in Chicago. I want to say it's November 5th. And you can see how my brain works. I'm all over the place with that kind of stuff. But November 4th, November 5th, we'll post about it on LinkedIn. So if you're in Chicago, Chris Hensley is one of the most brilliant fundraisers. We've had the good fortune of meeting so many brilliant fundraisers and fundraising auctioneers. And like little things, Kelly, like Chris says, why do bidding increments have to end in zero? If it's your 47th anniversary, I start the fund a need at $47,000 or $4,700 you see what I'm saying? Like little tweaks that can just add so much more money to the bottom line of your evening. Because once again, you have everyone in there for a finite amount of time that cares so much about what y'all are doing. So check out that episode with Chris. Reach out to Chris too on LinkedIn. Super agreeable fella and a friend of HGA and a brilliant fundraising mind. What I would stay away from is folks that tell you don't need a live auction if you've had success, and replace it just with a fund a need. I would be very, very thoughtful about that. Sandy, thank you for the feedback. Game a chance. Okay, cool. Kelly, place in the middle. Okay, great. Oh, Rosalind, yes, I would love to explain more about the Fund a Need paddle raise. A great giving opportunity. One of those, once again, having like 5 really, really solid revenue generators at your event. Fund a Need paddle raise, once again, typically, but if you do it before your live auction, fine. But typically we find it and see it at the end of the live auction, and gives folks, or gives you and your organization a moment to highlight the work that you all are doing. And then typically a professional fundraising auctioneer will get straight donations to help support your mission. So that's a short answer to a very long scenario. That's a very profitable scenario. As mentioned, get lost in some of the episodes that we've done with some of the experts about the Fund a Need. Happy to have that conversation with you off air as well. Looks like we have a few things to talk about, Rosalind. So appreciate you. And I love the idea. Holy smokes. Has anyone ever offered a chance to win an auction item in conjunction with Giving Tuesday to drive up donations? It's an incentive to give. Absolutely. We've been talking about that internally for, I don't mind telling you, for like the last few weeks, and how we can really twist the dial on that. And, famously, Jason, our CEO and the most brilliant fundraising mind that I've ever met, says, hey, folks give at the end of the year, not because of tax deduction, but because they're asked. So giving folks more opportunities to give and being creative. And from a marketing perspective, I think branding an auction item or a tripper experience or a golden ticket, branding it in the image of your organization, and then offering that as a incentive to give at the $100 level, $250 level, whatever level you decide. Massive. Love to have that conversation with you off air, and feel free to go ahead and DM me on LinkedIn, and we can get some time. I would love to talk about that and create even like a case study or something like that for folks, because a very, very underutilized way to get money in the door before the end of the year. Love the idea. Awesome. Karen, when's the best time to pull a raffle winner? Do last call for tickets during the live auction at the beginning, but our auctioneer suggested moving a few items in. Okay, cool. So who's your auctioneer, if you don't mind me asking? Because I think that's kind of cool, Karen. I think it's creative if you've always done it that way, where you announce the winner. We have a simple approach where we announce the winner, sell any remaining tickets or any additional tickets from the stage. If you've got a great auctioneer, fantastic. You can do that, have tickets, very, very easily purchased at check-in, bidder numbers, all that stuff, right? It's always kind of been like, hey, announce the winner before the live auction. We've got a great auctioneer partner in the Phoenix area, Brett Higgins, another fascinating, brilliant fundraising mind that actually took our golden ticket, sold tickets, obviously pre-event, during the event, and before the live auction, announced the winner on the stage, and then sold the golden ticket, vacation and choice of destinations as an impromptu live auction item, and sold it 3 times. And then started the live auction. Okay, just to tie a bow on that. So I hope that helps. I'm curious, once again, who your auctioneer is, and then moving it a few items in. Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think when I'm connecting the dots with what your auctioneer is thinking is that it might just add a little bit more excitement to the live auction, which can only be fun. Excitement's good. Energy is good. Energy, precludes, precedes giving in a lot of cases, right? So I think it's awesome. I'd love to hear some feedback if you're doing that, and how it goes. And if we're going to talk about the golden ticket and selling tickets, once again, another opportunity to mention that you should get it underwritten. If you use an item like ours, have a sponsor, a local company, underwrite the cost of the golden ticket, so you're net, and start selling those tickets pre-event on your auction platform would be my advice. Bev, I like it. Fun and neat at the end. So there are any people who didn't really want to bid on anything or who lost out still have an opportunity to give. Absolutely. And I will also double click on that, Bev. Yeah, I mean, it just seems standard that it's at the end. However, once again, there's no right or wrong answer. If you're putting the fun and need at the beginning of the live auction, you're nailing it year in, year out. I'm in no position to tell you otherwise. Okay. Bev, I will double click on what you mentioned about anyone who didn't really want to bid on anything or who lost out still have an opportunity to give. If they lost out, give them an opportunity to buy something else. If someone raised their paddle at $5,000 and missed out, get to them. You have an opportunity right there. We have another really great fundraiser that's come on before. I said, be fast, fluid, and flexible. If someone wanted to give $5,000 for something, they missed out, give them an opportunity to buy something else. Or if it's an item like ours, give them the opportunity to buy it and sell multiples. I will say that you're pulling from 2 different budgets as well. So don't think that you're robbing from your fund and need if you have a live auction. And really, really think about that. So the 2 totally different budgets. Once again, with the live auction, if it's a tripper experience, people are leveraging their giving budget with their travel budget simultaneously. I'm going to get opinionated, get on a soapbox a little bit. That does not make them transactional givers. Everyone says that lately. It seems very frothy. I really don't like that label. It does not, if someone buys an item for $3,000 in your live auction, does not mean they're not going to give in your fund and need. Labeling someone that's willing to give your organization $3,000 in a live auction, whether they know your organization, they're a first-time attendee, if you label them a transactional giver, that is a massive misstep. And you should not treat anyone like that that's willing to give that kind of money to your organization. So it's like I said, it's out there. This is our world, so I see a lot of it, and I'm getting very opinionated about it. I do not think that we label people that are willing to give at that level, and you're not robbing $3,000 from your fund of need if someone bids and wins an item at $3,000 in your live auction. Okay, so said my piece. happy to spend time with folks about that offline as well, or do a whole nother episode about it because I'm wildly opinionated about it. I just do not think that we treat donors that way. Okay, Nan, good to see you, Nan. What's up? We're planning for 2 upcoming fundraisers: a Christmas holiday event in December with a small round of raffle items, and a major fundraiser in January. Big community involvement in this one. We are out soliciting for items for both now. What do you recommend when approaching donors, and what advice do you give for best use of HGA products at one or both these events? Let's get in the weeds, Nan, with that off air about items, because I want to know a little bit more about the events, and then we can absolutely make recommendations. Are you using them for the silent auction, live auction? I love the raffle idea for sure. I'm going to go back to what, like, when you're out soliciting for items locally and soliciting for, sponsorships and underwriting, which I think can be, frankly, more profitable as well. Ask for more than you even were kind of willing to, if that makes sense. Claire Murad was on a couple of weeks ago and just said, like, hey, listen, I'm going to go in, I'm going to ask for like the local meat market. I'm going to ask for the meat, the smoker, the package, and I'm going to create a package as opposed to just going in and asking for the smoker. Like, stretch yourself a little bit. Put people on your committee at your organization that are really, really good at inviting folks to get involved, asking. Clever way to remove the nerves that come with asking people for money or for donations. And I think swing for the fences, shoot for the moon. I mean, you've got nothing to lose, and you can always back down. But if you shoot for the moon, you're going to be typically happily surprised where you land. You know what I mean? In a good way. So I'm happy to have that conversation with you. Best use for HGA products at one or both of these. I mean, raffle event, fantastic. I mean, we can definitely help with that. I love different price points with raffles because it's gamified. It's fun. People get involved at different price points. Super, super cool. And we've seen that. We have that data to suggest that works. I love the idea of getting the whole community involved in January. I think that's fantastic.